Are you an Aries sun, moon, or rising and you are interested in diving deeper into your psyche? Or perhaps you are cross-watching for an Aries in your life and you want to know more about their inner world? Well, in today's video, we are going to be exploring the shadow side of Aries and how to own these hidden parts. Hey there, cosmic warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Now, before we do dive into today's video, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button and click the bell. And if you are interested in any of my services, if you're interested in booking a reading with me, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. There you can also find my practical astrology ebooks guide and merch, and I also have some cheat sheets available. All the links to these products will be in the description box down below. I do hope that you find this video to be helpful today. Let's do this. Okay, so first and foremost, I do not claim to be a psychologist. This is simply me going off the knowledge I know about astrology. So do take what I say today with a grain of salt and just see what resonates. And I also want to give a massive shout out to the author of this book, The 12 Houses, Howard Sasportas. I strongly recommend this read. It is great when looking into the houses, and thanks to his knowledge and wisdom, I've been able to create this series. Also, I suggest watching for your rising sign first and foremost, followed by your sun sign, then your moon sign, just to see how things show up for you. And we will be using the whole sign system for this series. So we're going to be looking at your 7th, 4th, 8th and 12th houses. This is because these houses are unconscious houses. They are tied to our shadow. And naturally, if you do have any planets in these houses, consider them. And one more thing here, this information is in conjunction with Jungian psychology, and so we will be exploring your shadow side. Now, in short terms, Carl Jung explored symbolism and archetypes, and you could say that the 12 signs are archetypes. So on that note, let's explore your shadow, Aries, and how you come to own it. Aries, you greet life with directness, eagerness, and plenty of energy. Yes, you can be super powerful when you face life. And if there is one sign who faces life with the greatest game face, it's you. You show up, you play the game, and you often go home with the prize. And this is really because you want to win. You can actually be highly competitive people. And before I do go any further, this isn't a bad thing, okay? I'm not suggesting that this is a bad thing. Healthy competition can increase results. Our efficiency can increase. Competitive people are also known for being innovative, and you are certainly that. And we can also be more motivated when we willingly compete. We may seek to speed up, do things faster, improve our environment, and above all else, survive. Survival of the fittest. Naturally, there is more to this, which we will talk about throughout this video. There can be downsides, negatives to being overly competitive. Still, it's you, Aries, who faces life head on. You step up to the challenge, and when you're knocked down, you get right back up. Indeed, you will not be held down for long, and you can be relentless, especially when it comes to achieving your goals and aims. If there's a will, there's a way, and when you set your eye on a goal, you will push and push and push. There is a strong desire to take charge and to be successful. You're also the pioneers of the zodiac. You are willing to explore unknown territories, to do the daring thing, the bold thing. You open up a new line of discussion, a new way of studying a system, a new method. Take Linda Goodman, for example. I felt a strong need to mention her. So she was an Aries with an Aries rising. And of course, it was Linda Goodman who wrote the first astrology book to make the New York Times, so looking at the bestseller list. And this book was none other than Sun Signs. And what did this book do? Well, it put astrology well and truly on the map. Talk about being a pioneer, okay? As one of my followers on Instagram said, Linda Goodman was an OG, okay? An OG astrologer. Moreover, you sure know how to motivate yourself. You can be highly self-motivated. The whole world could be screaming at you to move, to get back up, to keep fighting, right? But you know that it's you who must be the doer. It's you who must have that conversation with yourself. And here's something else. During times when you experience a setback, a fall, a failure, you re-strategize. I think this is something that isn't often talked about when it comes to you. It's really your ability to go back to the drawing board that prepares you for that next round, the next fight, the next challenge. And when you're ready to direct your energy once again, you give it all you've got, okay? The passion, the drive, the fire. There is no other sign like it, bar Scorpio, of course. And I think that when you are aligned with your higher self, you see the bigger picture. You'll forward plan, you'll use great vision, you can be visionaries, and you'll also be aspirational with honorable morals. Indeed, there is a great deal of honor when it comes to you. And when you make your next move, you do so with morality, honesty, and bravery. You'll also stand up for the underdog and you'll stay true to what is right and wrong. Now, on the other hand, let's also be honest about times when you direct your energy in quite aggressive, harmful, and potentially violent ways. We notice this when you were younger, okay? Perhaps when you were younger, more immature, you could have lashed out more. Or perhaps there are times in life when these qualities do come out. Times when you'll be the antagonist or when you display a really bad temper that is very difficult to calm down. Naturally, this can also depend on the placement of Mars in your chart. But essentially, there is a side to you that can be headstrong, argumentative, and forceful, okay? Really pushy. Perhaps when you were younger, you were more likely to get into fights with others, often without realizing why you were fighting or who you were trying to protect. Ruthless competition was also likely, mistreating others so you could get your own way, having this obsession to win, and being very selfish. But I think that as you grow and mature, you learn to consider others. You show greater compassion, empathy, and sympathy, and you realize that others are very much a part of your journey. And that's important, very important, in fact. And this leads me on to your descendant, which is Libra. Libra invites you to think it through, to consider other people, and to also seek balance, not just outside of yourself, but within yourself. Libra invites the part of you that can be diplomatic, fair, reasonable, and rational. Libra also welcomes the part of you that can take other people into consideration without always making the thing about yourself or about your own needs, okay? So if it is, for example, that you feel a push to go full steam ahead into a situation, you can find the patience within yourself to pull back and just take a moment, okay, to reflect on the next step, weigh out the pros and cons, to examine the situation before going all in. I mean, is there anything that you haven't thought of yet? Is there anything that's still calling your attention that you haven't finished yet? Libra says you don't have to make a decision right away. See, whilst you can take charge, initiate, and get things done, you can also be some of the most impatient people. So I'm just going to share a quick example before I move forward, because I do have an Aries moon. So I'll just explain the final 2 videos of this particular series. So looking at the psychology series, I'm at a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to get them done so I can start on to the next project. The next thing that I really want to learn about, the next thing that I want to get into when it comes to astrology. I just want them to be over. It's this type of attitude. But I have been trying to discipline myself, especially over the past couple of weeks, just thinking, no, Hannah, keep at this. You're going to complete this series, and then there's going to be a strong sense of accomplishment at the end of it. And I'll be glad that I waited. Sure, though, this can suggest that you'll make calls and you'll insist on updates, for example. So there's benefits to being impatient, or there's benefits to initiating and wanting things to happen now. You'll get things moving along, things that are stagnant, which, yeah, can be great. I mean, there are many people in life who slack off, people who are too laxy-daisy, but there can also be times when you are far too impatient for your own good, times when you're impulsive, times when you start projects without finishing them. Hello, yes, just the example that I shared there. Or times when you didn't really take the time to think something through, and then you end up in a really big mess, possibly in dangerous situations. And when you don't see results straight away, you can become frustrated. Also me. Big me. And then what you do is you jump onto something else. Therefore, Libra invites patience. Libra also wants you to make clear decisions that have been thought through with much consideration. And this is so interesting because you often look out at the world and you think people are so indecisive. They never know what they want. They go back and forth, and they care way too much about the opinions of others. Just do the thing because you want to do it, not because someone else says you can. But Libra encourages you to look in the mirror, Aries. Libra asks, what are these people reflecting about the need for feedback and patience within my own life? Libra shows you that it's okay to sit on a decision, and it's also okay to take other people's opinions into consideration. It's okay to ask others what they think about your life choices, your life decisions, especially people you love, people who are loyal to you and who know you very, very well. And also, if others become upset when you do something super selfish and impulsive, they're allowed to be upset about it, especially if that said person is your spouse, your child, your parent, or a dear, dear friend. Why? Because a relationship requires more than two people. Libra is the sign of the other and shows you the valuable life lesson of companionship. We are social creatures. We need each other. We need love, community, belonging, connection, support. This is what Libra is here to offer you, to teach you. You could go to that mountain range in Canada, right? Taking in its beauty on your own. But you can also go to it with a lover, with a friend, with a parent by your side. I know for me, right? Again, just because I have an Aries moon and I want to share from experience, but I have traveled solo throughout my life and I've loved my solo trips. But how nice it was for me to also experience Egypt in February with my partner and to think about the different places we can travel to as a couple. Yeah, basically you can share that experience together. And I think the patience side of things can help you when it comes to completing projects, for example. And if you don't see results straight away, stick at it. See what adjustments can be made without jumping ahead of yourself. And the thing about this is you attract people who teach you these lessons. You might not see it because a big part of the 7th house, it's unconscious, but often the people you attract teach you about the importance of rational thought and observation, using your head to weigh things out rather than using it to ram into things repeatedly. It is interesting because Aries rules the head, right? But it's still a fire sign. Now, I'm not saying that you need to forget the part of you that's a go-getter, a doer, right? The part of you that is adventurous and risk-taking. But what if you could also own the part of you that doesn't have to be so urgent? Everything is so urgent when it comes to you. It needs to be done now. Okay, yes, you can get stuck in, and you can make those moves, you can make those calls, right? You'll react fast in an emergency, but This urgency often leaves you burnt out. And I think the thing about this as well is choose your battles wisely. Choose your projects wisely. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Moreover, you tend to attract lovers, close friends, and business partners who are fair, balanced, pleasant, understanding, and agreeable. And when you become really close, these qualities seem to come out of you. You become graceful, patient, diplomatic. You bring out teamwork and sharing qualities. You also value healthy give and take within your relationships. You really enjoy spending time with your partner, with your friends. You seek for things to be peaceful as well. However, relationships also tend to become too agreeable at times. Yeah, you thought you weren't indecisive. You thought you didn't try to avoid arguments, Aries. Well, Libra teaches you that it's completely normal to not address situations head on all the time, and that sometimes in life, disagreeing with others doesn't actually have to be communicated. And your opinions don't have to be shared all the time. You can take a step back and allow for things to unfold without your input. Now, on the other hand, something to be cautious of is passive aggressiveness and overlooking discourtesy to forever keep the peace. So, your partner may behave this way toward you or vice versa, but there might also be some resentment building beneath the surface as this is going on. So yes, just be cautious of avoiding the hard stuff as well here. The stuff that really should be addressed for clarity. Indeed, walking on eggshells because you fear you'll hurt the other person's feelings is likely. So on that note, Aries, let's take you back to your childhood by exploring your 4th house / your IC. So you have the sign of Cancer here. Did you grow up in a household comprised of walking on eggshells? Yes. Here we notice how emotional and sensitive certain family members were, particularly your mother. Perhaps things had to be addressed in very specific ways or during certain times. You could not handle conflict in the way that you wanted to because, well, you could have upset your mother, or you couldn't address that situation because you would be making a scene, right? Or you couldn't share your personal feelings because your feelings were not as important as somebody else's feelings. By sharing your feelings, you would upset another family member, and so surely you must be quiet. You must sit down and learn your lesson. Though what I find especially significant to mention is other people's reaction to your anger. I notice this time and time again when it comes to Aries, and I'm talking about the sun, moon, and rising here. This issue with anger, this difficulty in holding space for your anger growing up. And again, I think this was because your anger was seen as an annoyance. Naturally, I can understand why it would be difficult to help a child when they are being so angry. It is challenging to reason with them, as an example here. But perhaps there are those of you who received a message that anger is bad, or you learned to hide it, or you felt bad for expressing it. Then there are those of you who let out your anger in unhealthy ways whilst being unaware. You became rageful, possibly again, violent. Therefore, I think what is important for you to learn is how to examine your anger, how to create a safe space for it, being able to share it without taking your anger out on others, directing it onto other people. It's about owning it and being constructive with it. And when it comes to your emotions, just overall here, Aries, I think you need a home where you feel safe and supported enough to let out your emotions, okay? No matter what the emotion is. I am talking about this wide range of emotions. You're actually very emotional people, very deep, very sensitive, very loving as well, very caring, such compassionate people who do care about the needs of your family, of your loved ones. You'll care strongly about your children if you have any. You'll show so much love toward your pets. Oh, the love of an Aries. And the loyalty as well. Sure, you might go on a few escapades throughout your life. You might kiss a few frogs, so to speak, or you might make many, many mistakes. But when you commit, you commit. You have the heart of a lion when it comes to love and romance and friendship. But lover or not, there is something so incredibly brave about your ability to look within yourself, to explore your emotional needs and reactions, to make the unconscious conscious. This path is not easy, but it's you, Aries, who steps up to the challenge, because this is about self-discovery, self-development, self-growth. This is about understanding who you are in the most personal way ever, the most personal level ever, because you understand that it starts with you. Though I do feel the need to mention that when it comes to such things, your childhood and your upbringing matters, because for some of you, your emotions were validated and supported, right? But then for others of you, this was not the case. Your emotional fluctuations, of course, they also play a role when it comes to your emotional security. But just overall, I think this is about nurturing your emotions, being gentle and kind to yourself. This is about living in a home where you feel safe. Cancer here highlights your longing for safety and tranquility, not only on a physical level, but on an emotional level. All right, so now that we have explored your family life and how you approach your relationships, let's explore your 8th house. And you have Scorpio in this house. And this is so interesting because it ties everything together very well. So Pisces there is in the 12th house, and that this house will further add to what I'm about to say. But again, this part of you, this is what we're noticing, this part of you that goes within. You are someone who is daring enough to look beneath, to examine your psyche, your unconscious. This is where we notice just how investigative, deep, and perceptive you can be, Aries. And by you owning your Scorpio parts, you learn to direct your emotions with power, intention, and determination. Those buried emotions of yours, the emotions of rage, jealousy, resentment, those feelings of sexual arousal, you learn to integrate these in healthy ways, to understand that it's okay to feel and that we don't always have to act on our feelings and our emotions. We don't have to react to or do anything with them, right? We can just sit in them, allow them to be processed, and to even explore them, to examine them with curiosity. Indeed, it is you, Aries, who truly transforms emotionally throughout your life. But whether or not you step up to the challenge, that is a completely different story. It is up to you. It is up to you to change any unhealthy coping mechanisms, to change any unhealthy emotional patterns and habits and so on. But essentially, you transform psychologically, spiritually as well. You might actually grow to become someone who is super calm and chilled, someone who can take your time. On the other hand, when such parts of the psyche are not integrated, this is when you can be super suspicious, paranoid, very bitter, vindictive, vengeful. This is also when you can be self-destructive, even looking at self-sabotage. Still, you transform when it comes to things like sex, intimacy, repressed emotions, and any unresolved trauma you have. You also transform when it comes to things like shared money and debt, etc. Perhaps by you learning to cooperate, you also grow to manage shared money and resources so much better. You can join together with your partner, for example, or really discuss, where you really discuss your finances and your expenses. And you can also learn how to invest really, really well, or how to manage any debts you have. And I think commitment plays a big role in all of this. Then again, maybe you also transform when it comes to taboo-like subjects or occult-like subjects. You become someone who is quite powerful when it comes to the likes of astrology, witchcraft, psychedelics as well. It's you who takes a taboo subject and you make it less taboo by opening up that discussion. So thinking about things like politics, religion, money, sex, mental health, relationship issues. Basically, Scorpio in this house invites the part of you that pushes boundaries. All right, so moving on to your 12th house, you have the sign of Pisces here. And right off the bat, this suggests that some spiritual lessons you're coming to learn in this life are tied to your spiritual life, your dreams, your imagination, your intuition, your creativity. And it's also here where we notice just how dependent you can actually be without realizing it. You might even have an addictive personality or have addictive tendencies. And if this is the case, be careful. And this is also where we notice your lack of boundaries, again, without realizing it. I think there is an underlying part of you that longs for closeness and connection, but you could very well go above and beyond in order to get close, or you could do the craziest of things, the types of things which make other people look at you and think you have a million heads. This could be, for example, staying in an extremely unhealthy relationship and convincing yourself that it's normal. Or this could look like you moving to a different country because you think it will bring you emotional fulfillment, then you become restless and you leave. And so I wonder, what is it that's going on here? And I think there is a part of you that is running away from yourself. We especially see this when you're younger, okay? Going back to when you're younger, but the more you prolong the going within process, the more you'll run. The more you'll seek validation outside of yourself. And here's something that my psychotherapist said. Of course, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, it's important to run into here rather than out there. And my view on this is how much, too often, we try to run away from our feelings and our emotions. We try to run away from the pain, from the suffering, from our struggles, from our past, from our shortcomings, from any uncomfortable emotions. This psychological, spiritual, and emotional journey I talked about in the Scorpio section, so looking at the Scorpio in the 8th house part, it's not easy, okay? But avoiding uncomfortable feelings doesn't make them go away. Therefore, I think Pisces invites you to truly feel, and at the same time to examine what is happening within. You could say that your life path is a mystical one, it's a spiritual one. It involves transcendence, dissolving ego boundaries, and merging with something higher, with something beyond. Perhaps there are those of you who have experienced an ego death, or you have tapped into unseen forces. You pick up on signals and undercurrents. You can be highly sensitive to such mystery and magic. Then again, perhaps there are those of you who find a spiritual practice that really works super well for you. You discover things like meditation, breath work, yoga, astrology, crystals, the tarot, or it's that you decide to help those in need. You do charity work, or you volunteer. That's very spiritually fulfilling, emotionally fulfilling. Or maybe it's that you have experienced depression at some stage throughout your life, and so you have struggled with some type of addiction or dependency, and you eventually come to, you overcome whatever that dependency was, and you even improve when it comes to your mental health. Or this could even look like you giving up alcohol, for example, or at least coming to understand your limits, right? See, whilst there is a part of this pointing toward dissolving boundaries, there is also another part of this which indicates developing healthy boundaries and how this is a spiritual lesson. huge. And I also think you come to learn just how much you escape, how much you run, how much you can daydream. But again, such things can be transformed, such as healthy retreating or solitude, or using your imagination as a creative power. Indeed, you can withdraw and you can recenter yourself. Essentially, Aries, I think Pisces in your 12th house teaches you so much about being reflective, sensitive, loving, and compassionate. Pisces here also teaches you the importance of energetic healing and cleansing. Maybe spiritual check-ins really help ground you. They help you refocus. On the other hand, things like self-pity, martyrdom, and being deceptive can be parts of your self-undoing, okay? And do be cautious of involving yourself so much with other people's problems as a way to avoid facing your own problems. Still, this is about you owning the parts of yourself which are helpful, hospitable, caring, and very understanding of others. Okay then, Cosmic Warriors, so that concludes my video talking all about the psychology, the shadow side of Aries. Now, if you do happen to have an Aries sun, moon, or rising, please let me know what you thought of the video in the comment section down below. I hope you found it to be helpful. And if you are cross-watching for an Aries in your life, again, I hope you find it to be useful. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section down below overall. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you would like to see more videos from myself and you have not yet subscribed, then make sure that you click that subscribe button and also give this video a like if you did like it today. And I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye.